Fire safety. In my opinion, it's one of the most important topics we will discuss in this series. Strange enough, but fire safety is a big part why Bering exists. I had a lifetime experience on my brand new sport fishing catamaran, 30 foot, with twin outboards. I lost this boat to fire. I remember every minute of this incident, and it's easy to remember every minute because it took 12 minutes from first smoke to the flame ball of 3 stories high. I managed to ditch the boat in reach of fire trucks. It was in Morehead City, North Carolina. And 3 fire trucks just cooled down the fire. They didn't extinguish it. Fortunately, the gas tank didn't blow up because it was some water there, so the boat burned to the waterline. And the temperature of this fire was incredible. It was 1200 Fahrenheit. My tuna tower melted down in a puddle of aluminum, and destroyer-style steering wheel was twisted like a pretzel. We managed to escape, but if it would happen somewhere in the open sea, it would be pretty much a fatal accident. It's happened on March 8th. So the water temperature was 50 degrees. And I didn't have a life raft, it was a small craft. I didn't have a dinghy. That's what made me thinking about fire safety and about safety in general. My next boat was diesel boat, and I had a safety bag, portable life raft, and dinghy on the 28-foot Albin. Small dinghy packed up on top. And of course, fiberglass is a vastly used material for runabouts, for lighter boats, for fast boats. One of the reasons why we build in steel and aluminum, and why we are very cautious about choice of materials for interiors, especially for insulation. And we will give you a lot of details how we approach the fire safety, because any sailor will tell you this is the biggest fear of sailors, the fire, not the sinking, not the water, the fire. So, and that's why we pay so much attention to it.
When calling a boat a house on the water, one should remember that this house has a power plant on board. Every motor vessel carries a lot of fuel and has flammable materials used in its construction. These factors make fire safety on the water critically important. An onboard fire is something no one wants to experience.
Most of the fires on board start in the engine room, or they have to do with electricity, wiring, power production, or transmission. Engine failures, wrong wiring, worn out parts, and other electrical issues onboard and outboard contribute to 60% of all the fires that start on ships. Whereas off-the-boat sources, like a nearby vessel, a marina, or a garage, take up about 30% of the remainder. Another 10% of fires can start due to welding errors, spontaneous combustion, smoking on board, basically anything and anywhere. Every vessel relies on various passive and active fire protection systems to ideally prevent a hazardous situation from occurring at all, or at the very least to minimize its damage in the event that it takes place. In simple terms, passive fire protection would essentially boil down to fire prevention and detection, and active protection would mean fire extinction. Now, let's see what these fire protection systems are, how we utilize them on Bering's boats, and what the international regulations are for these systems.
To enhance the fire safety provisions on board all ships across the world, the International Code for the Application of Fire Test Procedures and the International Code for Fire Safety Systems are mandatory to all signatory flag states. A number of international classification societies, such as the American Bureau of Shipping, or ABS, Bureau Veritas, France, RENA, Italy, Germanischer Lloyd, Germany, and others have issued rules and recommendations to ensure technical support and compliance verification of fire safety measures. Bering Yachts fire safety measures correspond with the RENA rules for the classification of pleasure yachts and are inspected for compliance with all appropriate codes and regulations.
Even if you always follow the safety rules, there is still a chance to start a fire. The best defense against a fire is prevention. Passive fire protection and detection is the main part of any fire plan. Its goals are to minimize the speed of fire and smoke, to protect the escape ways, and isolate them in a single compartment.
Passive architectural system includes flammable resistant ceilings and roofs, fire doors, windows and wall assemblies, fire resistant coatings and other fire and smoke control assemblies. Structural parts of PFP are means of escape, sizes of stairways, fixed and portable extinguishing systems and fire dampers. A huge role-play education and training for the crew. Bering Yacht's passive systems include fire-resistant insulation with thickest layers protecting the most flammable areas, such as engine rooms. Certified non-flammable materials are used for cable insulant and upholstery. Additionally, the surfaces can be treated with sprayed fireproofing.
Engine room bulkheads and fire-resistant doors can endure fire up to 60 minutes, keeping it from spreading around the yacht.
If against all precautions, the fire still takes place, active fire protection measures should be taken. Fire relies on oxygen, heat, and fuel to stay ablaze. If any of these is removed from the environment, it will die out. Well, the basic strategy to follow when responding to a fire on a ship involves 4 basic steps, which are locating the fire, informing those on board, containing and extinguishing the fire.
A list of recommended active firefighting appliances is presented in this table. Those that are used on boats produced by Bering are marked in blue. Depending on the boat, these might include emergency fire pumps that can deliver seawater even in the case of an energy shutoff, monitoring safety system, which regulates all the electronic equipment on board, including fire monitoring systems as well as smoke and fire detectors, fire extinguishing system in the engine room using aerosol fire suppression technology, fire extinguishers of different classes located throughout the boat, safety and evacuation plans along with written guidelines for the crew's fire safety training. Finally, Bering uses the least flammable materials while building its yachts.
We have previously discussed the fire hazards related to the choice of materials in boat building. Our hulls are built using steel, which is a non-burning material and has a melting point of 1,400 degrees Celsius. Aluminum, our material of choice for superstructures, has a melting point at around 660 degrees Celsius. In comparison to fiberglass, which has a melting point of 500 and a burning point of 800 degrees Celsius, use of metals ensure higher protection. Fiberglass fires usually spread out rather quickly and they produce a lot of smokes. So dealing with such a fire would probably be a nasty experience. So here at Bering, we try to minimize our use of fiberglass in our production.
Ensuring fire safety is one of the most important goals for the Bering team. We do everything possible to assure structural, design, and equipment-related protective measures. All of our engineers, boat builders, equipment producers, and crew work together towards unparalleled safety on the water.